This is One Sentence News, a daily podcast featuring 3 news stories with a sentence-long summary and 1 sentence of context apiece. I'm Colin Wright. This is a sponsored message. I've been using Anchor as my podcast host for a while now, and it's been a pleasure to use. Anchor offers benefits that most other hosts do not. It's free to use, but it also has a collection of tools that allow you to create a podcast completely within the Anchor website or smartphone app. They distribute your show to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other distribution channels without any additional effort on your part, and you can make money from your podcast without any minimum audience size. So you can use it as a more traditional podcast host like I do, but it's also got everything you need to start a podcast from scratch. If you're keen to give it a shot, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's Thursday, August 25th, 2022. Let's talk about the news. From Axios, the Ukraine war, 6 months on. It's been about 6 months since Russia officially invaded Ukraine, and the conflict has evolved significantly since then, transitioning from a blitzkrieg by Russia, which intended to quickly occupy the capital city Kyiv and take over the government, realigning it with Moscow's priorities, to an extended effort that's illuminated weaknesses in the Russian military's vaunted strength, demonstrated how smaller nations might fend off straight-up invasions by larger, far stronger nations, and sparked a wholesale realignment of global geopolitical, economic, and diplomatic realities. The Ukrainian government has said it won't agree to any kind of peace treaty until the 5th-ish of their country Russia now occupies is returned to Ukraine, including the Crimean Peninsula, which was occupied by Russia in 2014. And the conflict seems to have entered a more slow-paced, grinding stage, in which Russia continues to throw resources, including a reportedly staggering number of not super well-trained soldiers, at Ukrainian defenders. Those defenders come into possession of greater quantities of ever more powerful Western weaponry, and the whole world holds its breath, waiting to see how things will shake out, and when that shaking will occur. From BBC News, Europe's drought the worst in 500 years. About 47% of Europe is under warning scale drought conditions, which means the soil has dried up. Another 17% is on alert, which means local vegetation is suffering and showing signs of stress. And about 2/3 of the continent is experiencing some kind of drought warning. A recent report suggests that this is the worst European drought in about 500 years, and it's estimated that local harvests will be down between 12% and 16% for various crops. All of Europe's rivers have dried up at least a little, and some significantly, to the point where they can no longer carry river traffic, and a lack of sufficient water for hydroelectric infrastructure is contributing to energy shortages across the continent. And from the New York Times, Biden to cancel $10,000 in student loan debt for borrowers earning less than $125,000. After months of back-and-forth negotiations and questions about whether anything loan-related would ever come to fruition, the Biden administration has announced a plan to forgive up to $10,000 in education debt for folks making less than $125,000 a year, to place an optional cap on the size of payments borrowers have to make each month of 5% their monthly income, which is half the current cap, and to forgive an additional $10,000 in debt for students who receive Pell Grants, which are given to low-income students. This announcement is likely to be amazing news to some, disappointing to others because it doesn't go far enough by some estimates, and alarming to still others who worry this debt forgiveness, which could cost $300 billion or more, goes too far and will contribute to ongoing inflation issues. The decision also delays repayments on these debts one more time, till December of 2022. Earlier delays have been very popular since they were first introduced when the pandemic hit a few years ago. So if nothing else, that element of this announcement might be a win for Democrats heading into the November midterm elections. If you're finding some value in One Sentence News, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com. And you can support this and other related projects, like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts, at understandery.com.